Alright, let's talk about Call of Duty Black Ops 3. This is a game that I wanted to like a lot more than I did, and that's unfortunate because in the past I've really liked Call of Duty games, and this one has a lot of things that on paper sound great. It's got a lot of modes, it's got campaign and zombies and nightmares and multiplayer. Everything about the game is fully customizable. There's a big co-op focus, which I really like because playing with friends is the best way to play in my opinion. But the thing is, there's a lot of issues that really drag down the experience and make it a slog. That's not to say it's a terrible game. There's a lot to like about this game, but some of these issues just can't be overlooked. But what I did like was it controls well and the graphics are really good. The frame rate's a stable 60 frames a second, and the online runs really well. I mean, that's something that Call of Duty games have always been known for, is just being like rock solid as far as performance goes. And overall, this is a very ambitious game, which is something that I admire about Treyarch, trying to do something new and fresh. Alright, so first I'd like to talk about the campaign mode. It has 11 missions, which are all pretty decent length, about 40 minutes to an hour long apiece. And you can play that however you want. You can play by yourself, or you can play 4-player co-op online, or you can even do split-screen 2-player co-op locally. And everything about it is customizable. Your character, your weapons, your abilities. It really lets you tailor the experience to your own personal preferences. There's 5 different difficulty levels, so you can turn it as easy or as hard as you like. And all the missions are unlocked right out of the gate, so you don't have to beat one level to see the next. If there's one in particular that a friend says you got to check out mission 9, you can just jump right to mission 9. And everything about it looks great. The characters are very realistic, the environments are very detailed, so it's all very impressive. And the mocap performances are really well done too. The human actors in the game did a really good job and look very realistic and human. Unfortunately, the story itself is just not very good. It's not engaging, it's not interesting, and sometimes it's convoluted, and it just really brings down the pacing of the game when you have these long-winded speeches where characters will just stop you in the middle of shooting to tell you some junk that you don't care about, and you're just like, hey, instead of talking to me for 3 straight minutes, how about we just get back to the fun part? And a lot of the campaign is designed to show off these new abilities that they introduced in Black Ops 3. And on paper, they sound pretty cool, but in execution, they're all pretty useless. A lot of the time, it would just be faster and easier to just shoot the enemies rather than use your abilities. And it just kind of negates any usefulness that these abilities might have had. Also, some of the enemies are alright, but there's a few that are just annoying, that are just basically bullet sponges where you're just unloading clip after clip after clip until the enemy dies eventually, and it's just like, that's just not fun, you know? Who wants to shoot a guy a million times for him to die? Also, some of the level design can be a bit aggravating. When you've got your, run-of-the-mill, run down a hallway, shoot some guys, it's fine. But then sometimes they tried to switch it up by having, like, the level fill up with water and mines, and you're trying to swim while you're drowning, and mines are exploding around you, and it's like, that's not fun, that's just aggravating. So sometimes the campaign could feel like a real chore, and overall, the experience just was uneven and kind of a mixed bag, where sometimes it'd be fun and sometimes it was just really boring and aggravating. But I will say that playing with friends definitely made it more fun, although I chalk that more up to the fact that anytime you're hanging out with friends, it's going to be more fun. Alright, let's talk about multiplayer mode. This is kind of the main draw of the Call of Duty series, and this is where most players are going to spend most of their time on this game. And I can say with confidence that this is the one mode that Treyarch got right. It's really fast-paced and frantic, and it's a lot of fun. Now, you will die a lot, but that's just kind of how multiplayer goes. There's a lot of cool new abilities that in the campaign didn't really serve any purpose, but in multiplayer seem a lot more useful. And they actually reminded me of the kind of thing you'd see in Destiny or Titanfall, where you're running along walls or something like that. The connection to the game was really stable, and getting into matches is really fast and easy. And as far as online goes, it's probably the most steady and stable online I've seen in a video game. You can play your own custom matches with friends and set up the parameters to however you want and really customize it to your own personal tastes, which is really cool. And you can even add in bots to the matches to kind of round out the teams, and or even if you want to play by yourself against a bunch of bots, you can do that. And there's up to 18 players that can play online, or you can play 4-player local split screen if you and 3 friends just want to sit on the couch and shoot each other all night. And there's 12 different maps to choose from and 11 different modes, including things like team deathmatch, domination, search and destroy. So really there's no end to the variety of ways that you can play the multiplayer mode. In fact, the only thing I didn't like about multiplayer was the insulting announcer, which it just seemed unnecessary when your team is losing and you have this voiceover guy telling you how terrible you are. It was just weird because it's like you already have players in the game telling you how terrible you are and insulting you. You don't need the game to chime in with that crap too. But that was just one nitpick. Overall, though, multiplayer was pretty darn good. Next up is Zombies mode. You can play this by yourself or with 4 players online, or even 4-player local split screen, which I thought was really cool because in the past I'm pretty sure it was only limited to 2 players split screen. So having that 4-player local split screen was pretty impressive. The thing is, for me, this was the part of the game I was looking forward to the most. I've always been a big fan of zombies, and this mode was kind of a disappointment. They overcomplicated things this time around by adding in all these new parameters and gameplay elements that just wound up feeling arbitrary and unnecessary. For instance, you can turn into a beast and break certain boxes and things like that, but it didn't add anything to the game that I wanted. And you can pick up these fumigators and fumigate these plants that will drop different items. And again, it was just like, why? I just want to pick up guns and shoot zombies and board up windows. They also added new puzzle elements that you have to solve in order to progress. And it was just like, I don't want puzzles in zombies. I don't want plants in the beast mode and all that stuff. And they tried to even add a story where they gave all the characters these background stories, and then while you're playing you hear this disembodied voice telling you all these different things and giving you riddles and clues. And all of that was just really annoying, and it distracted from the core experience that was supposed to be enjoyable, which is just shooting zombies. It made me wish for the simple zombies mode from World at War, which was fantastic. It was streamlined and it was just very focused on the fun part of zombies, and this one was just overcomplicated and annoying. Also, there's really long load screens that bookend the matches, and I didn't want to jump back into a match if I had to wait another 5 minutes through loading screens, and it just turned me off to the whole zombie mode experience. So I was just really disappointed because that was the thing I was looking forward to the most, and it just fell flat for me. Up next is Nightmares mode. It's basically the campaign mode, but remixed with zombies added in. And it supports all the same multiplayer options as the campaign, and basically reminded me of Left 4 Dead, where it's you and 3 friends running through levels shooting down hordes of zombies. On paper, it sounds freaking cool. But unfortunately, Nightmares mode suffers from the same pacing issues as the campaign, where you're frequently being stopped and forced to listen to this annoying narrator who's telling you about her nightmares and some crap you don't care about, instead of just having fun shooting zombies. And you can't skip any of these long narrations, so you're just stuck listening to it. Also, it's weird because you're restricted to only one weapon at a time in Nightmares mode, which is not a restriction you have in any of the other modes, and I don't know why they did that, because basically if you pick up a crappy weapon, you're just stuck with it until you hope that you can come across another weapon that's better. And the other problem I had with it was that zombies can literally spawn out of thin air, and I found myself frequently dying when zombies would spawn right on top of my head. And the thing is, when you're getting hit by zombies, they restrict your movement, so you can't really run away or turn around or do anything to defend yourself. So if a zombie spawns right on your back, you're just stuck with him killing you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I found a lot of those design choices to be frustrating, and while Nightmares mode can be fun sometimes, I found it frustrating most of the time, which is really unfortunate because I wanted to like Nightmares mode. There's one more mode that they added for Black Ops 3. It's called Free Run, and it's basically like a Mirror's Edge style obstacle course that you try to run through. And I don't know, overall it didn't really interest me, but it's cool that they added it anyway. Overall, I'd say that Black Ops 3 is not a bad game, but it's also not one of the better entries in the franchise. And I'd say as far as co-op shooters go, there are definitely better options out there. The main thing that drags down the experience for Black Ops 3 was the poor pacing and the frustrating design choices. However, I do think that fans of competitive shooters will definitely be satisfied by this game.